Shalom, shalom, shalom. Today, what I like to do is I've been on this journey looking at maps, old maps of Africa before the slave trade, after the slave trade, and during the slave trade. So, I want to show three maps today, and I'm coming from three books. The first book is going to be, it's called Historical and Cultural Atlas of African Americans. The second one is from Hebrew to Negroes, or from Negroes to Hebrew, from Hebrew to Negroes. And we know who's that by. I just hope you have the tripping off the author of this book. They made a big deal out of it earlier during the year. The third book is the Black Holocaust for the beginners. So I'm going to look at this first map to the right. And this map here show you the slave trade from Africa to the America. That would be South America, Central America, West Indies, North America, Central America, West Indies, and South America. So the places where they concentrated on in West Africa and also Central Africa, but specifically for the transatlantic slave trade, it was West Africa. The Arabian slave trade was Northeast Africa. That was totally different. Oh, the atrocities. I won't even go there. I digress. I'm going to stick with West Africa right now. Because I'm reading a book regarding all the stuff I'm going to read a couple of things out of one of the book called The Black Holocaust for the Beginners, briefly regarding the Arab slave trade and what they did to the young men versus the young black boys versus the young white boys when it come down to making them eunuchs. So anyways, this particular map shows slave trade from Africa to America, 1650 through 1860. And it's West Africa, slave trade region, the slave coast. And it show you from this map how they took us from the different country and took the tribes from these particular countries in the continent of Africa, in West Africa, brought them over to, for instance, Senegal. Looked like they went all the way up to Europe, about 3 million. It shows you approximately how many. Looked like we also went into South America, all the way up here, Central America. It showed the places. West Africa is all this area here, which would be the slave coast. And then the Congo, and then Angola. And it says, in the notes here, it says, between 1650 and 1860, approximately 10 to 15 million enslaved people were transported from Africa, Western Africa, to the Americas. Let's say Hebrews. I'm going to prove to you there was Hebrews. Not only were they Hebrews, but also, according to another map, it says that Africa, as far as West Africa, was a study area. So they were studying this area before they went on and started taking us from our tribes, which I'm going to show you the Jewish colonies, which is going to match up. So anyways, it says approximately 10 to 15 million enslaved people, or Hebrews, were transported from Western Africa to the Americas. Most were shipped to the West Indies, Central America, and South America. So South America, places like Salvador, Brazil, Central America, New Orleans, Mexico City, South America, and it gives a place in South America, the West Indies, Charleston, New York, which would be part of, look like part of North America. So anyway, so there's the map, the slave trade map there. Now the same map, this map here, oh my goodness, I knew what's going to happen. I hate when this happens. Right here, same areas right here. You have Senegambia, Sierra Leone, West Africa. This is West Africa. Niger, Mali, all that is West Africa. Gamba, Angola. Remember over here, Sierra Leone, the slave coast, which is the Niger, Burkina Faso, Benin, Ghana, Togo. But the slave trade focused on West Africa and studied that area before they went over and started taking us from Africa and bringing us over here to the Americas. So those two maps match. Now there's an older map, and it's during the slave trade, and the ethnic group of West Africa during the time of the slave trade looked totally different than this. And we know that, you know, after time the maps change, areas change, shifting, you know, colonization. But the actual ethnic group during that time in West Africa was the Moors. Okay, the Moors, the Berbers, the Fulani, the Jolof, Jolof, the Sierra or Sierra Leone, Mandingo, it was the Susu, the Vai, the Crewmen, the Awikam, the Bali, the Ashanti, the Fante, the Ewe, the Fan, the Yoruba, the Hasu Fulani, Benin, Igbo, Ibibo, Ifi, Siki, and Gamba. This is the names of the ethnic group during the time of 1650 when they went over to take us from these areas and bring us over to the West Africa. The Americas, from West Africa to the Americas. Now we know that they were Jews. They were getting Hebrew Israelites. They were getting the people that were descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They knew who they were getting. And I want to show we are without a doubt the chosen people. And they knew this because they were studying. The map said they were studying that area. That was a specific area that they were studying. They called it a study area. Now, before I go to the map, I want to go to the book History and Culture Atlas of African American, and I'm going to read a little insert with maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs, and it's regarding the very people that they were taken from this ethnic group of West Africa during the slave trade, which were named after the Moors, the Fulani, the Mandingos, and so forth. It says the greatest traveler of the Middle East or Middle Age was Ibn Battuta, visited several African kingdoms. An African of the Islamic faith born in Tangier, Ibn Battuta was a lawyer and scholar who traveled to places as distant as Samarkand, China, Sumatra, and Indies during the 14th century. In the African country Mali, he observed a people who lived in complete security because injustice was rare, according to Ibn Battuta. The blacks are of all people those who most abhorred injustice, Battuta said in 1971. It says, neither the scholars and travelers nor the African imperials could predict the fate that lay in store for the people of Western Africa. A little less than 100 years later, when the Portuguese began their cruise down the coast of Africa. Now we know they wouldn't just cruise and just happen to see a bunch of slaves that they wanted to take back to America. It says they were studying. So they knew exactly where they were going when it was on cruising down the coast of Africa. And they probably weren't cruising, it was speeding. It says people from every major ethnic group of the western and southern coast were brutally uprooted, taken to the Americas, and enslaved. It says records showed that when slavers came with their armies to invade the coast, they encountered strong resistance from the African. And in some cases, women and children took up swords and spears against the invader. Thus the name of Nzinga and Yo Ashanti Wa are forever in the annal of the African resistance to enslavement. So you know how they were saying that, they didn't fight for their people. They did fight to try to keep them from taking us. So they were fighting. So some of these leaders was, apologize, and maybe some of them didn't, but it's obvious that there were some countries there that were fighting back, trying to stop them from taking their people. Then it goes on to say, the initial of the European slave trade began the largest forced migration in the history of the world. Estimates of Africans removed from the continent range from 15 to 50 million from 1482 to 1888. No more tragic episode has ever been recorded in human history, given its continuing impact on a contemporary society. Okay, now check this out. There were certain tribes that they took. Remember now, they were studying. They were studying us. They were studying us. It was a study in West Africa. Called it a study area. So they were studying us. So that means if they were studying us, they knew exactly what tribes they wanted to take from West Africa. It says these are the Britain trade with the coast of West Africa principally involved the people of what is known as Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, and the Cameroon. But it was by no means limited to these areas. Yoruba, Asante, Fante, Fan, Aja, Abibio, Ibo, Abio, Igbo, and the Duala were a few of the nations decimated by the British slave trade. In the end, almost every African ethnic group along the West African coast had experienced the pain and fracturing of the British slave trade. As the major slaving power, Britain controlled access to the coast for more than 100 years. Other European nations took up any slack left by the British and consequently devastated entire ethnic groups. So, I read these names, right? The different tribes. Now let's go to the map showing there were Jews there at the time that they invaded Africa. So let me go to that map now. I hope I didn't lose it. I can pick it up though. Here's right here. No, that's the book. Oh no, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just going too fast here. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go look for it. I hate that what happens. The Lost Tribe of Myth, Africa boundaries. Okay, so I'm gonna have to pick it up. I hate when that happens. It's like when you think you get everything together, it's like something always comes up. But anyway, we get it. Here it is. Okay, let's look at this. It's a little bit too big. So, again, they went to Ghana. They call it the Jewish Kingdom of Ghana. They went to Senegambia. There was Jewish colonies all around here. Timbuktu, Nigeria. This is Nigeria here. And above the homie would be Niger, Burkina Faso. That's all part of West Africa. And those they were Hebrew Israelites, or what they call Jewish colonies. So they're part of the Jewish colonies. Now you heard when I read the part when the gentleman by the name of Ibn Battuta, how he was saying that in the African country of Mali, he observed a people who lived in complete security because injustice was rare, according to Ibn Battuta. So they knew that these were not fighting people. And they knew there was no kind of crime going on over there. So they probably knew they would have their guards down when they came over and started taking out people. That's just my thought. But I'm pretty sure it is. Then it goes on to show here that they took them from the Gold Coast. Let's look at the other map here before let me make sure that I don't get rid of something that I'm not supposed to get rid of. So let's look at this again. They took them from West Africa. It's the slave trade, the slave coast. Here is Ivory Coast, Gold Coast, and Slave Coast. And this is a West Africa slave trade region. They went to a particular place, the Transatlantic Slave Trade. The Arab slave trade went north, and it's a whole different study. And I got books on that too. So anyways, so they were taking these particular tribes, right? And this what I read. What I'm reading right now is coming out of the book called Historical Culture Atlas of the African American. So talking about the great traveler Ibn Battuta talks about the Mali, how secure they were. Then it goes on to say that they had no idea 100 years later we would be taken into slavery across the ocean to the Americas. And we knew that they were studying this area, Africa. It was a study area, so they knew exactly what type of people they wanted to take. They knew exactly where to go. They even knew the exact tribes that they wanted. They weren't just going over there taking anybody. They were going over there to take builders. So now I'm going to go to a book called The Holocaust for Beginners. Now this is probably more like talking about the Arab slave trade. Look what they did to these young men. They were worse than the transatlantic. It says, the Arab took advantage of regional war in Africa to buy captives from the victor. They also used the old divide and conquer technique. They worked one group against the other and took or killed the best and strongest. So they killed the best and strongest. They divide them, let them fight amongst each other. The strongest they killed, the weakest they took into slavery. That's some demonic stuff. It says the Arab eventually, especially from the 1400s onward, with the help of the ruthless Portuguese, began to raid the coastal towns. Mombasa in Kenya, Kiwa, Safola, Magusta, and also ventured hundreds of miles inland to what we call Uganda, Malawi, Rwanda, Burundi, to capture Africans who were peacefully minding their own business. Now capturing Hebrew Israelites. Then it goes on, it says castration males, the centrality of eunuchs in Muslim society. Castrated male slaves, akhas or eunuchs, was central to familial peace, protection, and order in many wealthy Muslim households. eunuchs were considered so valuable that they sold for almost 10 times more than non-castrated male slaves. African or European, in spite of their high price, eunuch popularity, referred to as kadim, or teacher or tutor, were seen by the hundreds of thousands in many parts of Muslim society. Eventually, the craft or surgery became the profitable hallmarks of Coptic priests throughout Upper Egypt. The Sudan and Ethiopian, they could amputate the scrotum and penis. Just say just mutilate them basically, of 8 to 12 years old African boys, so completely that it was called leavening with the abdomen. Over the hundreds of years and hundreds and thousands of operation, the survival rate ranged from 1 in 10 to 1 in 30. Wow. So they were butchering these young men. The young boys of Burkina Faso, this is God's people. These are our brothers and our sisters over there with France and all the rest of the European country trying to go in and murder these people for some resources. Then you got this wicked Nigerian leader, a puppet, that God's going to deal with him too because he's killing his own people, his own brethren. So it says that the young boys of Burkina Faso were the most sought after because of the extreme poverty and orphan children due to the constant attack upon their people. But they also came from Darfur, Kordofan, Dongola, and towns in Ethiopia earlier known as the Abyssinians. Then it goes on and said, but in contrast, white boys were actually quasi-eunuchs because the castration process was only cutting the tip of the penis. But they gutted our young black boys and leaving the scrotum intact. Most were able to have sex, and a few were even allowed to have wives and concubines. So they treated our people like animals. It says, even so, Africans as no more than a sex slave or a two-legged oxen or cow, cheap beast of burden or pleasure, and there were plenty more where they came from. This coming out the Arabian slave trade. It's come out the book called The Black Holocaust for Beginners, and by S.E. Anderson. So that's a real good book. You know what? I purchased this book like years ago. I didn't even put the date in it. But when I read as far as that part about how they castrated those young black boys, I couldn't read the rest of the book. I still haven't picked it up to read it. So it's just so disgusting. So what else I wanted to read? I think that's the read. But again, they knew exactly who they were going to get from Africa. They studied us, they watched us, and then they moved in. Because see, they had a plan. You just can't go somewhere with that kind of takeover and not plan it. So it's obvious that they planned for years because they were studying the area. They were studying the people. They were studying the area. And it was also probably studying the kings and stuff there too to see how they can get over. They knew their biggest weapon was divide and conquer. And once they divide and conquer, they take the weakest. Just like they were saying with the Arab, what they do was they would use the divide and conquer, and then the strongest they would kill, the weakest they would keep and take them into slavery. They were doing the same thing for slave trade. It was no different. So y'all, it's just a fact. This is without a doubt that we are, without a doubt, the chosen people. And we are, without a doubt, are the people that went through Deuteronomy 28 from the beginning, from 1 through 68. We are the people. We're the people. We're the people. And they know we're the people because, like I said, they were studying us. And they knew exactly where to go get us. And all three of these maps prove that we are the people. And that when they came over to West Africa, across the Atlantic Ocean over to Africa, they went to a particular place in the continent. Now it was West Africa, the Slave Coast, and the Gold Coast and Ivory Coast. And here again, you show where it says the Benin. And again, it says here they slave from their trade from this period. Africa, Senegal, Sierra Leone, same over here. Same place, Sierra Leone. Same place. And these are Jewish colonies. Our people was there way before the transatlantic slave trade. So if they were there way before the transatlantic slave trade, because they were, because this map here is how he drew this map. He took it off the African map, and he put the places when he did his studies and did his traveling throughout Africa. And there's another book called this map comes from the Lost Tribe of Myth, Alan Godby, but there's another book called Traveler to North Africa. He also did a 10-year study, a 10-year travel throughout North Africa. So it all adds up. It just adds up. We the people, and you know, it just we're the people. It talks about up here and this is north of Northeast Africa, and like I said, the transatlantic not trend, but Arab slave trade seem to have focused on the what they call Middle East today, but it's Northeast Africa, like Mauritania, Libya, the Tunis, or what they call it, has pronounced that the Berbers, the Berber Jews. Now remember in the map I just told you about in the book called the Atlas book of Black American. It talks about, it says also there was the Berber. That was the old map with the original name of the tribes or the ethnic group, and Berber was one of those ethnic groups. They also have on this here where it shows here the Berber Jews right here. So it says Berber Jews, Black Jews, and also the Tunis was another place. Also showed you some old dates where it says the Sidon, 800 BC. Talks about here 640 BC. Also talks about during the Alexander invasion, or when he invaded Africa. It talks about Israel immigration from 1100 to 700 BC into Africa. It talks about also Solomon. It mentioned about Solomon time. And here is some, where is that at? Here's the Philistines right here, Philistine Jews. So these red names is where the Jewish colonies was located in Africa. So the transatlantic slave trade and the Arab slave trade, they knew exactly who they were going over there to get. They were going over there to get God's people that had fled into Africa. And you know, all through the Bible, you see how Hezekiah and the kings, how they would flee into Africa because they were their brethren, yes, too, but they looked like each other. You know, they were the same people as far as, you know, they were Hamites and Shemites, but we have to understand that Ham and Shem came from the same father, Noah. So they were brethren, and that's why they always made them their ally. The Palestinians, the original Palestinians over there right now, I believe is a combination of the people have the actual bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I believe also there's some that that may not have the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, but some of our people is over there. We know they are because our people are everywhere. And they left a lot of us in Africa. They didn't take all of us from Africa and brought us over here to the Americas. They didn't. They didn't bring everybody over here to South America, Central America, West Indies, North America. Some of us were left behind. And that's why they were left behind. We know they were left behind because they still practicing the old culture today. So it's just everything's just matching up. Everything's just matching up. I'm trying to look for let's see, where is that at? Trying to look for Solomon. That's always so hard to find that. So we hear the Yemen Jews. We have here what they call Ya'ism and Nuba. The Abyssinians, they were also um, Hebrews or Jews, black Jews. Either word black. Anyway, that's just anyways. Black means slave. Black is not an ethnicity. It's not, has no culture. It has no land. It's a nobody. And that's why they keep calling us black. We are not black. We are Hebrew Israelite from the descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who we are. That's our bloodline. We need to start claiming it with boldness. And stop letting these people tell us who we are and who we're not. I'm still looking for, I've been looked over there so many times. Look at this, check this out. It says I just seen something regarding Abydos Jews. Called the Elephant Jews. Alexander. The Barca. Serenka. I guess I should pronounce it. Solomon time. During Solomon time right here. Tripoli, that's up in North Africa. There's no such thing as Middle East. That's a relatively new term. When they, in November 1869, when they created the Suez Canal and then divided Israel from the rest of Northeast Africa and then turned around and called it Middle East. Boy, the Most High in Hosea, when it says that you parted my land, that's exactly what they done. Parted his land. They took his land and parted his land like it was their land. They gonna suffer for that. They gonna answer the Most High for that. He doesn't forget. He has a long memory. He will not forget the wicked. I thought I seen something saying I'm doing also the so that's Solomon time. Tunis Jews, Alger here. I seen something where it says I was doing Isaiah time. Oh, let me find out. I just seen it. It says Isaiah. Okay, understand. Slow down and look. I know I seen. It says Isaiah embark. There it is right here. Isaiah time. Right here. The Abydos Jews. Right here, Isaiah time. So the author and Jewish person that created this map, he did a great job because it just match up with the actual maps of Africa, the old map during the Transatlantic Slave Trade, the old map during the Arabian Slave Trade, and how they traveled out throughout Africa. And what they did was that they ran into the different tribes, how they was still practicing some of the old Hebrew Israelite traditions. And it's just, and even there's a scripture in the Bible says that they would be practicing the laws and stuff. And so we know that those who fled during the 70 AD, they were our people that fled into Africa, and we've been there ever since, still there and brought over and scattered throughout the world. And when the Most High told Moses to tell us that that's what he's going to do to us, the Most High already knew we wasn't going to do it. Moses knew too, because he even said at the end, he knew that we're not going to be obedient. So he knew we were going into slavery. I believe also in Genesis, when Abraham was shown what was going to happen to his people in 400 years, I believe he's seen all the way through until the transatlantic slave trade, up until the day how God's people was going to suffer. So anyway, you all, I just wanted to share that. I'm forever on this map because I'm always learning something new. And come to find out, I have books here that it just verifies everything. So anyways, I hope you got some understanding. I hope it was clear enough. I'm trying to learn how to stop talking so fast because I can get off and start talking fast and forget that I'm talking fast and have to slow down like right now. So anyways, y'all have a blessed day, and like and share, and have a blessed day. Goodbye.